We have some breaking news on Boston Celtics today. I am your host, Harrison Graham, and hey, Danny Ainge is retiring from President of Basketball Operations from the Boston Celtics, and it's twofold as Coach Brad Stevens will be promoted. He is going to take over for Ainge's role in the front office, which means a head coaching search will begin immediately for the Boston Celtics. Let's talk about Stevens' side of this first, and then we'll take a look at the news around Ainge and take a trip down memory lane as he has been the GM for quite a while. So Stevens stepping away as the Celtics head coach, but really just moving on into another role. He is going to take over as the President of Basketball Operations, like I mentioned, for Danny Ainge, who has retired after almost a 20-year run with the Boston Celtics. Quite a morning as Woj was dropping nukes from all over Twitter this morning. He had this one earlier saying, quote, Stevens has been described as worn down with the coaching since the bubble and welcomed the chance to make the transition to the front office, sources tell ESPN. Stevens will help lead the search for his successor as head coach. Lots going on this morning for your Boston Celtics. So before we dig into this more, what is your one-word reaction to today's news? Because my goodness, there's a lot going on with the Boston Celtics across the NBA this morning. What is your one-word reaction to today's news? Let us know down in the comments. My one word: stunning. I mean, I think we all knew that some kind of offseason changes were coming. I think most of us thought that was going to be with the roster, which I certainly still expect that to be the case. But I did not expect to wake up a day after the Celtics were eliminated from the playoffs to Danny Ainge retired and Brad Stevens moving on from head coach to be the President of Basketball Ops for Ainge, who is walking away. Quite a wild hour or so here on a Wednesday morning. Here's what ownership had to say on Stevens stepping into Ainge's role, saying, quote, turning to Brad is a natural next step since we have built a partnership over the past 8 years and he is a special basketball mind. We want him to lead us into the next great era of Celtics basketball. So let's kind of look back, because I don't think any of us thought that Brad Stevens would step away from coaching, but here we are. This is what he accomplished in 8 seasons. After missing the playoffs in his first year, 7 straight playoff appearances, 3 runs to the Eastern Conference Finals, 2017, 2018, and in 2020. Could never break through to the NBA Finals, which, of course, is the ultimate goal for a franchise like the Boston Celtics. Overall record well above 500. Very consistent under Stevens. Never reached the peak, never got to the top of the mountain, but he got the Celtics back to being one of the premier teams in the Eastern Conference. So overall, he was a success as the Celtics head coach. Now, you kind of look back at the timeline, it's been a bit of a whirlwind for the past decade or so. Led Butler to a couple of national championship appearances, was the NCAA Coach of the Year in 2012. Celtics hire him in 2013, takes his lumps his first year as he tries to rebuild this roster, and then in the 2014-15 season all the way through this year, 7 straight playoff runs, including those 3 Eastern Conference Finals appearances. But now, here on June 2nd, 2021, he gets promoted to President of Basketball Operations, as he apparently has been worn down from coaching for the past year or so, as Adrian Wojnarowski reports. Do you like Brad Stevens moving to the Celtics front office? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Certainly an interesting move. Remember, Danny Ainge did this. Used to be a coach, became a front office member of the Phoenix Suns way back when, and obviously had a great career, so maybe Stevens can do the same. Y for yes, N for no. Do you like Brad Stevens moving to the Celtics front office? Now, Celtics fans, this is the time to subscribe to Boston Celtics Today, because the season may be over, but free agency offseason palooza is just beginning, and it starts with a coaching search. Brad Stevens replacements video tomorrow. Don't miss it. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Myself or Chase Sr. will break down some potential replacements for Brad Stevens as the next head coach. He's going to lead the search, so we'll take a deep dive into 5 or 10 candidates that could take over as the next Boston Celtics head coach. Subscribe. Hit that big red button. All right, let's talk now about Danny Ainge, who retires after a really good career, for being completely honest here. He's retiring. He's walking away. He's been the President of Basketball Operations since 2003 with the Boston Celtics. And a great run, sure. 1 title over almost 20 years in Boston, maybe, a lot of you longtime Celtics fans would say you expect more, and I get that. The Celtics are arguably the most renowned franchise in the NBA, but 6 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, 2008 NBA champions. This has been a great run for Danny Ainge with Boston. Now, Wojciechowski also had this note earlier today saying Ainge has been contemplating leaving the job for several months and has been talking about possible succession plans with ownership, sources tell ESPN. Stevens turns out to be the franchise's choice. Ainge has also moved away from coaching in the NBA to the front office with Phoenix. Like I mentioned earlier, similar path for Brad Stevens to Danny Ainge. Ainge did this as well several years ago when he moved on from being a coach to the front office with the Phoenix Suns. And Danny Ainge, the guy had a great run. I'm not going to say it's an A+. I think in recent years he's missed some opportunities to pull the trigger on some big-time trades. But, think about what he accomplished on building this roster in 2008 to lead the Big Three to that title. He acquires Kevin Garnett. He goes and gets Ray Allen, builds those two around your established star and Paul Pierce, and you win a title in 2008, go to another finals the following year. This was a great run for Danny Ainge. I think recent years, people got a little sour on him, but it's hard to win titles, man, in any sport. And the guy won one, and he was in the mix year in and year out for the Boston Celtics. He was kind of the start of the super team era, right? That was the first real big three in the NBA, at least in the modern NBA. That was all Danny Ainge. People were trying to copycat that. Look at what LeBron did. He goes to the Miami Heat just a couple of years later, teams up with D. Wade and Chris Bosh because he was like, hey, I can't beat this big three while I'm with the Cleveland Cavaliers. You see the Warriors create a big three. It happened all over the NBA, and it started with what Ainge did with the Boston Celtics, with Paul Pierce, with Kevin Garnett, and with Ray Allen. So kudos to him. I hope he enjoys retirement. Grade the Danny Ainge era with the Celtics: A, B, C, D, or F. I won't give it an A+ because a bit of a mixed bag, especially in recent years. It's an A- though. It's a really good run for Ainge in Boston. I think he's overlooked in some regards. I think he gets a bit of a bad rep because of a couple of bad calls in recent years. He's had a really good run. I think one of the best GMs over the past couple of decades. Now, Danny Ainge released a statement on officially retiring, saying, quote, "Helping guide this organization has been the thrill of a lifetime, and having worked side by side with him since he's been here, I know we couldn't be in a better situation than with Brad guiding the team going forward. I'm grateful to ownership, all of my Celtics colleagues, and the best fans in basketball for being part of this journey." He knows it. Look, there might be some chatter of, hey, the Celtics were trying to push him out the door, and that could be true. But he knows how he understands that it's a rare opportunity to be a GM of a franchise like the Celtics for almost 2 decades. He's not walking away with a sour taste in his mouth. Great run for him, and he knows how unique of an opportunity it was to lead this franchise. Now, just to kind of circle back to Stevens moving into Ainge's role, obviously you need a head coach, and we're going to have a video tomorrow on potential Brad Stevens replacements. This is my off-the-cuff names that came to mind just as I was about to film this video. Now, I don't want you guys to freak out. I'm going to do a deeper dive into some research, see what's popping up around to those in the know, and we'll do an expanded video tomorrow. But Mike D'Antoni, assistant with the Nets, under Steve Nash right now. I think it could be an interesting up-tempo basketball with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. How about Rick Carlisle? Played for the Celtics in the 80s. What if the Mavs lose this first-round series to the Clippers? Do you make a call, see what happens? How about Eric Spoelstra? He's had a great run with the Miami Heat. Maybe it can't hurt to give him a call, right? Like, I don't know if he'd leave Miami. I don't think he would, but I think it's worth reaching out to him and his agency. Nate McMillan has been great for the Atlanta Hawks as the interim head coach. I think they're going to promote him, but if the Celtics come calling, I think he'll be interested. And then Becky Hammon. Look, I don't know if this is the job for her, but I do think at some point she will get an opportunity in the NBA. If you get Greg Popovich's approval and signing off, if you will, at some point someone's going to come calling. Maybe she's worth an interview. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. Again, just a spitballed list. We'll take a deeper dive on tomorrow's show, but what do you guys think? Who should the Celtics hire as their next head coach? I'm sure there's plenty more candidates out there that are certainly worthwhile for the Boston Celtics. Get your votes in. Who should Boston hire to replace Brad Stevens? Quick reminder for you guys to subscribe to the channel because a busy offseason just got a whole lot busier with Danny Ainge retiring and Brad Stevens stepping down. We're going to have videos several days per week when news happens, rumors, whatever it is. We're breaking it down on youtube.com/CelticsTV. And one last reminder, Brad Stevens replacements on tomorrow's show on this channel. Subscribe, turn on notifications, do not miss it here on Boston Celtics Today.